Hello, Paul James here, just reporting to you after 11 days of my fourth hunger strike. I've been consuming about 600 calories that can sustain me for the foreseeable future, and at least till July 1st, when I plan on going to a total hunger strike, which is what I've done in periods before. On the website is a letter that today I sent to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau that encapsulates why I'm doing the hunger strikes, why I'm seeking injustice, and why I need that corrected, not only on a personal level, but also so it can assist Canadian society in how we deal, first of all, with the stigma of substance use disorders, substance addictions, drug addictions, whatever you want to call it, the people that suffer from those, but also to identify the other issues that we have. Access to social justice for people that can't afford legal counsel. I know it's been a platform of the Honourable Chief Justice Beverly McLaughlin at the Supreme Court of Canada to improve. I think I'm an example that there's a long way to go. I please encourage you for looking and reading that letter that I sent to the Prime Minister, and if you're touched by it, I'd appreciate the comment or making a comment on the website or on the YouTube, because I will recite it over the next few days. And the reason I ask for the comments is that it's very clear when you read the letter that we are a stigmatized nation when it comes to substance addictions. And as a result of being stigmatized, which in part stigma is discrimination, it's also ignorance, is that we can be resistant to change, because what we think on a subject matter to be true is not true in this instance. And I think if you read my letter again, or listen to it as I recite it over the next few days, you can really, it's going to hopefully be profound in the fact that it provokes the way that you think about substance addictions, about the people that suffer from them, and how we need to begin to change. I've put in the letter that clearly now, when you look at my path over the last 8 years, I am living on a couch. This is my couch. If I could move the camera, I could show you what my assets are. I have nothing but what is here to the right, and over there I have a box of books. Now, that is the main reason for that is a consequence of me being exposed to a substance use disorder, to crack cocaine, and the fact that we're stigmatized in not knowing what to do, what the true reality is. And if you read that letter, you will see that as I make the point, from when I first started to the point where it became at the zenith, the worst moments were in 2007, 8 and 9. Then how do you explain and reconcile that that was the most successful period of my life in terms of personal finance, acquiring assets, in terms of 2 homes, in terms of my soccer coaching? I was a master of my trade at that stage, and able to develop teams to be successful on an academic level, and then in the media, and through the media I feel I did a reasonable job. How do you explain that? And then I come open and people know, and you lose everything. It's not because the substance use all of a sudden increased and then it went to 24/7 and spending $500 a day, which is, I know other stories. That's never ever been my situation. It's because of the stigma. That's what I'm fighting. But the main thrust, it's actually a byproduct of what I'm fighting. The fighting that I'm doing is for the injustice, which hopefully when you read that letter, it's very clear. And the reason I say about making comments on the letter or on the YouTube is that the person that does the social media for me or uploads the video to YouTube and takes care of the website, I got to do an accounting the other day of how many impressions that we had from people coming to visit any one of those facilities, and it's 250,000. let's say 230 to 250,000 people, or impressions that we've had, so people coming back over a period of 5 months, and I've hardly been on for the last 2 months, yet there's only been 4 comments. I think it's on the website or on the YouTube. Now, that's stigma. So I know when I read it, or from when people write me emails, or the comments that I get on some of the stuff that I've written or talked about, that it's thought-provoking, it's provocative, and I know people have opinions. So when you want to know or understand what stigma is in this particular subject matter, then think about what prevents you from making a comment. And when you really interrogate that, you'll find that that's a fragment of what it is to be stigmatized. You might be worried about the impression that has to other people that would read your name for going on to it, or to, even if you use a pseudonym, to actually be on there, to be the first on. It's, that's what stigma is. And so somebody like myself that lives with, and millions of others like me, you know, times that by 100 or 1,000, and that's what we feel. So that when you open up to somebody and they excommunicate with you, it's like being hit by lightning. It's like it paralyzes you, and what you want to do is you want to retreat from those feelings. So that's part of my story coming up over the next week or so, while I still continue this hunger strike. And I'm hoping the Prime Minister and any of the MPs that tune into this and read the letter that you do the right thing. And the final thing with this, just because now I've got emotional, so it's normal to be emotional when you read that letter, but I can see York University now scapegoating that. Scapegoating is the cousin of stigma. So let me address that. I was just about to get out of that, but let me address that. So York University, on top of everything else, have scapegoated me doing this because it's mental illness. It's normal for me to be emotional. I have no money. I don't know where my next meal is coming from. I sleep on a couch. This is what I sleep on. And I'm feeling the effects of being ostracized and stigmatized. I do have choices. I could go to social housing, and I could go on social disability or mental disability, and I refuse to do that. That should be for people that are in far worse circumstance from a functionality perspective than I am. It would let people off the injustice, and I feel I'd never get out of that circumstance. I refuse to do that. That's why I'm hunger striking. It's not because of mental illness. Read the letter, and that's why. But also with York University. Here's the appalling thing, is that it's been 8 years, and after 8 years, and an unbelievable amount of evidence that's valid, that's like scientific, if you like, that you knew about my mental health, distress, and disabilities 8 years ago. The fact that it's 2017 and you still, through General Counsel, can deny it or lie about it is an indictment of your institution. The fact that you denied me the opportunity to speak to the Board of Governors as opposed to coming on to this hunger strike is an indictment of your university. You don't want me to meet the Board of Governors because you don't want the truth to be told, because you don't want to be accountable. So I'm finishing off with this, is that in the event that I die, to everybody else that's watching this, or even have to suffer another hour of going on a hunger strike, or if I have to go July 1st to a total hunger strike, that's excruciatingly painful, is that if I was to die from that, this is your strategy on a legal level. In your war room, you've talked about it clearly, because this is 11 days again, 20 days before. before you made contact, of which was a ridiculous contact, is that clearly you would prefer that Paul James was to not exist and to die because it relieves everything for you. Well, I'm saying there's enough people now in the supporters group, there's enough people behind me, that that's not going to be the case. You can't scapegoat that as, it's a tragedy and it's Paul James and clearly he was not well and clearly he was ill. That's not the case. Read the letter, and York University, you won't get away with that. They won't get away with that scapegoating at the end of this, whatever this is how it's ever going to turn out. I hope the Prime Minister, the fact that I've had to go to the Prime Minister is extraordinary. But I'm proud of what I've written, and please do your due diligence, yourself and members of Parliament, and do the right thing for not just for myself, but for millions of other Canadians. This is a potential game changer for Canadian society. That's it. Thank you for tuning in. Bye.